not of soul.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Yes, we have an in-studio guest today, Mr. Luke Palmer. Luke, thank you for coming into the studio, man.
Hey, I appreciate y'all getting me down here.
All right, very nice. We're going to spend the entire show with Luke and kind of pick his brain on the Elite Series and so many other things taking place in the fishing world. Matthew, everybody wants to know, how'd the tournament go, man?
I finished 11th. I'm going to work on the video afterwards, but it was awesome. We ended up with, I think, 38 boats. And like I said, we practiced all of our safe coronavirus precautions from picking up the... I'm following this stuff to the T. If you notice, usually Brad and I are close together. Luke and I are we're more spaced out here. It's the distance of either one turkey vulture with his wings spread out or 3 wiener dogs front to tail.
I haven't heard that.
That's the distance that you have to keep in between people to be
I
safe
have not
about
heard
it.
that.
But no,
Where did you get that from? Seriously?
Yeah. I mean, that's not what the
Turkey vultures?
Yeah, it's about their wingspan's about 6 foot. But no, it went well. It was not as good as everyone thought. I guess they'd been biting really good earlier in the week, and then we're not biting that day. Like I didn't get to practice for it, right? Because I got into this deal at the last minute.
Yeah.
And the lake had gone off limits on Thursday. So I roll up at the ramp. We could all put in whatever ramp we wanted to. So we all put in, well, not all of us. Most of us put in that in the back of Duck.
Yeah.
At the RV park, and I talked to a couple guys. He's like, I think one guy was like, I think it'll take 50 to 60 pounds to win today. And this is total weight. And I'm like, all right, this is awesome. So I had 2 pounds after the first period, and I was like, I don't even want to look and see what the scores are. But it only took less than 30 to win the whole thing.
So not a vintage
It's
spring
frustrating.
day.
I caught 7 fish on 7 different things.
Wow.
It was one of those days. You ever had one of those days, Luke?
I had quite a few of those days.
Yeah. But you think you've had the bite 4 times during the day where you're like, all right, we're rolling with this. And then you roll with it and you're like, no. And by the end of the day, your pattern is, okay, I caught one on that. Let's pull a different rod out.
Oh, yeah. Whenever you think you got it figured out and you 3 rods, that's all I'm going to need. Then half the day's over with, you got the whole rod box emptied and wanting to find something else.
Yeah. Now, what's the most embarrassing thing you've ever hooked and fought and then it turned out not to be a fish? Or have you done that? I mean, you are in the Elite Series. Maybe you're at the next level where you don't do that anymore.
Jeez.
It's a good question.
Now I did that. Me and my dad were Eufaula, and we were fishing, I think, there's a Fisherman's Choice. Mm-hmm. And we had a good limit. I said, we're going after big ones, that's it. Rest of the day we're going to go do some different stuff. Pulled in there, I flipped in on a tree and only had 10-pound test. Boy, I bowed up on. I said, this is her. This is it. I mean, it's on me. I mean, this goes on. It felt like 10 minutes, but it's probably a minute and a half. And I'm sick. I can't get it out. And all of a sudden I pulled and it just come out. And it was about a 10-pound blue.
Wow.
Oh, I was sick. I was shaking after that because you think
thought
it
was
over.
Well, I had a co-angler. And we're in one of those, those kind of pea gravel rounded points in the back half of Duck. Classic pre-spawn spot. Fire a trap out there. We get about 3 cranks in. It just loads up in about 4 foot of water. And fortunately or unfortunately, I have this on GoPro. It'll be in the video. And first thing I do, because I watched it, I crouch, adjust the drag. And I said, oh my God, it's a giant. I mean, it's one of those deals where it's one of those giants you don't realize it doesn't realize it's hooked yet. And you know how it's kind of swims at a 45-degree angle and then you'll feel it. It's not a carp snagged because, it just feels right. And it comes and then it starts going right and I'm down and I get down and I crouch and I reel and I said, oh, here she comes. It was a Zebco 33 that I had hooked in the cork handle.
That's impressive. That is impressive.
Is it usable?
No, it had been down there for years.
For a while.
And I hooked it right in the cork handle. And I fought it. I mean, I said,
check.
this is her. This is it. It's it. Oh, here she comes.
Yeah.
And it came up at, boom, tip of the rod.
All right, real quick, a couple of housekeeping items. I want to let everybody know. Tomorrow, you will have the name of the Sunline giveaway, correct?
Correct. Right here. I've got it. The Sunline X Plasma Saw guy. I know who it's going to. It's a pretty good story.
Okay, and then my giveaway is sitting right there on the other side of the desk, so we'll make that announcement tomorrow. Greg in Alabama was wondering. I do want to let everybody know this week, jam-packed week. Tomorrow we're going to have Carl Jacobson on. Wednesday, Chris Zaldane's going to be in studio. Thursday, Kevin Van Dam. And Friday, Gerald Swindle.
Are you nervous about the Van Dam interview?
No,
Do you
not at
think
all.
he's going to?
I don't even think he knows about it. You think he knows about it? Unless you called him.
I don't have Kevin Van.
Yes, you do.
Why would I call Kevin Van Dam?
Hey, I got you with Christy pretty good.
I don't have the balls to do that.
Okay, well.
That's Kevin Van Dam, man. I mean, we have to work to get him on the show for 3 months. It's not like I could just.
There is nothing wrong with the approach that I'm going to take towards that subject matter. Somebody's going to learn from that question.
The only time I've ever called Kevin was when I called to ask for money from Kevin Van Dam for Mark's entry into the World Series of Poker, and he donated some money towards that.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So we'll see.
You ever called Kevin Van Dam?
No. He's probably wondering who in the heck I am.
No, he doesn't even know. Unless somebody, I don't know. Somebody may have said something to him, but not even a blip on his radar, man.
Okay, we'll see Thursday.
Yeah. You know, if he comes after me, he comes after me. But I wasn't coming after him. I just wanted to know why he stuck with the jerkbait so long. That was it.
Jeffrey's questioned.
I did not question
the guy who's
here's what I did, Luke.
26 major tournaments in his career.
This is all I did. Right? All I did was I watched a lot of him fish at Lake Fork on all the live stuff, and he was struggling on day 2, and he stuck with the jerkbait. Kept throwing it. He said during when the camera was on him, hey, I caught him really good in practice. This has got to work. This has got to be what I need to be doing, blah, 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 blah. And he caught like 2 fish. My question was, why did you stick with the jerkbait so long? That's it. I wasn't calling him or calling him out for continuing to use the jerkbait as an angler. And I'm sure fans out there want to know why you made the decision that you did to stick with the jerkbait. Sure. That was it.
Yeah, fair. Down there, whenever you do find him with it, it's ball game. Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure it had his name on the side of it. He probably has a little bit of confidence in that bait.
Everybody knows that he likes to do that. So we'll see what he has to say about that. He may get pissed off and hang up. I don't know. I don't think he'll do that, but it is a method of learning from the lack of success. And I'll ask you the same question. We used to do a feature some years ago called What Went Wrong, when we would actually talk to guys when they had bad tournaments and go, okay, what would you correct based upon the pattern and the areas and the lures and everything, the technique that you use to not have success during this tournament. Do you ever go back, and how often do you go back when you do have a bad event and try and analyze it, or are you just moving on?
I normally just, when I pull off the water, I'm done. I'm done with the day, done with the tournament, and like I haven't even went back and really watched many of the Bassmaster from last year or this year. I haven't. I don't know. It's just one of those things that I try to. I mean, yeah, you're going to go back. I mean, like I can go back to Cayuga last year. I missed the cut there by a pound or so, I think, maybe 2. Mm-hmm. And I left a group of fish that someone pulled in behind me at like 12 o'clock and caught 22 pounds off of it. I caught 16 off of it, and I left. I said, hell, that's enough to me to make the cut. I need to save these because I don't have a bunch. No, and then I needed, 2 more pounds off of it, and it'd have been the difference me making another cut, another check.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good question to ask Luke Palmer.
Why is that?
He's only finished below 50th 2 times in the history Bass Elite and Open Series history. He's like always caught him. He's got 2 finishes. Like I'm looking at his stats right now. Zero tanks. Chafalaya Basin, 69th place. Lake Lanier, 55th place. Rest of it, top 50s.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
That Morgan City one right there.
Yeah.
That one there cost me making the elites that year.
Really?
Yeah, that was a year that I was sitting third in the points.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you're going down to shallow water paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got down there and got my teeth kicked in and just didn't. It was a deal if I'd have come in 60th, I'd have been fishing elites then.
Had you ever been to the Chaffalaya Basin before?
No.
How freaky is that the first time you're down there where you're like, okay, I hope the GPS doesn't go out?
No joke, because, I mean, you get lost in a heartbeat down there. I mean, because, like, Verret, it's just a big circle of cypress trees. Nothing's different, you know, and it's, I mean, I fished Verret, and then I even ran somewhere couldn't pronounce it, you know, and you'd run for like an hour down a canal, and you're thinking, okay, then all of a sudden here's these camps in the middle of nowhere, and it's you're like, well, hope, you know, the banjo starts playing, and you start to get nervous, but you know.
Hey, you got the cables too. Do you remember the whole John Sappington incident?
Uh-uh.
Oh yeah, they still have a ferry crossing, like a cable. We had to stop. We had to idle through there.
Yeah.
Because then it like raised up.
Yeah, you didn't know that about Sappington?
No.
Yeah, he almost got decapitated.
Because of a cable that the ferry goes back
Yeah.
and forth, so it's electronic, so they don't have...
Yeah, it just raised up at the time that...
Oh, so it's like one of those, like
it's underwater, but when it comes up above the water,
Yeah,
whenever they
that's a
pull it.
name for the past. I haven't seen or heard. I know he recovered fully from that, but I don't even know if he's
Was that in an
still
FLW
fishing.
tournament?
Yeah. So crazy place down
Wow.
there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not one of my
Sappington.
favorite. Yeah.
Here it is, right here.
Yeah. What year was
Wow.
that? Do you have what year?
How have I never heard of this? 2004, Sappington recovering after boating accident.
Yeah.
When the boat he was recovering from neck and back injuries late Tuesday afternoon when the boat he was piloting struck a cable used to pull the it's a French name. Cote Blanche Ferry in St. Mary Parish, Louisiana. Sappington was slated to compete. Rescue personnel responded to the accident. He was flown by helicopter.
Yeah. It was a bad deal, man.
John suffered multiple neck and back injuries and was rendered unconscious when his boat struck and then slid under the ferry's cable. The cable hit Sappington in the head and knocked off the helmet that he was wearing.
Yeah.
He was wearing a helmet. That probably saved his life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wood said he was also wearing a life jacket but was not thrown from the boat. The ferry is cable driven, and when operated, the cable rises out of the water. Mr. Sappington ran under the cable and suffered serious injuries. There is no doubt that the helmet he was wearing saved his life. Wow.
No.
He could catch him
never
too,
heard of
man.
that.
He was a stud. I can't tell you how many times that he dominated on Grand
Yeah, well,
and the
obviously I
Ozarks
know who
Lake.
John Sappington is,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that the last time we fished the pro circuit was 2008.
Yeah.
Wow.
That'd make you change your output in life right there. I mean, geez.
Yeah. So I don't know when the last time. I know he was friends with Endicott.
Okay.
So maybe I can get a hold of Wes. I'm curious to see whatever happened to him. That would be a great thing to find out if he's still fishing or what he's doing. But he made a full recovery from that whole situation. All right, on the instant feedback already, Dave wants to know, Luke, what you think your biggest weakness is.
Finesse.
Really?
You know, we was talking earlier. I said I never owned a spinning rod till I got on the elites last year.
Wow.
I went trout fishing at Blue River in college, but you know, I don't really consider that counting. I don't wacky rig. I don't shaky head. I hardly drop shot. So I mean, that's a major learning curve for me, and I'm actually having this time off is kind of helping me because, like, you know, this weekend I pretty much solely I'm going to take his spinning rod and went to a pond to try to give me some confidence and trying to do the wacky rig deal and caught him.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You've identified your weakness. What research? Have you talked to people, or is this just a matter of taking things in your own hands and spending time on the water and doing what you think is necessary to get better? Or have you taken the time to talk to people and do research?
You know, I've talked to a few guys on tour and stuff about it, but you know, I'm one I'd like to be able to try to figure it out myself because I don't want to have to owe anybody things, I guess you'd say. I get more self-accomplishment out of that if I do it myself than I do, you know, talking to 5,000 people about it. But, you know, I mean, that's out there to get you help, and it can get you on the right foot where you're not spending a buku of money for say rod and reels for no reason. If you got the complete wrong setup, you could have a catfish setup instead of being a bass guy. That's about how it is for me. Because I didn't have a spinning rod.
So how'd you decide what to get?
Kind of what I thought. That's really what I did. I'm throwing the Abu Veritas this year. I went and got me a 7-foot medium light and a 7-foot medium. And
just one of each?
Nah, I ordered about 3 of each of them. And I said, well, this is something that can get me going. And I for once made the right call, and for what little setup that I was doing yesterday, I really, really liked it. It was simple, but I don't know if I lost maybe 3 or 4 fish all day. And to me, that was good for a wacky rig because I lose them so much. But starting to figure out how to set the hook and pulling into them instead of I'm back there trying to jack them, and you just got to pull into them, especially 10, 12 pound test line. It's not as good when you try to break their necks. But
all right, very nice. Now, have you ever heard Matt's theory? What is it? The bridges.
Oh, BMR squared, bridges, marina, rip, wrap, and ramps.
No,
you can take 4 baits, 12 months out of the year, go to 90% of man-made fisheries across the country, target only bridges, marina, rip, wrap, and ramps, and a Nico rig or wacky rig is one of those baits that you can do because then you're always dealing with pinch points, you're always dealing with release fish, areas where fish live, and if you're in a tournament, no one can say, hey, this is my rip wrap, hey, this is my bridge. You always have a place to fish. So when I started learning the wacky worm or the Nico rig, I've keyed pretty much exclusively on bridges, marina, rip, wrap, and ramps and learned those, so I knew I was always fishing around fish with it. That's how I got confidence in it.
It works.
It's really good for a lot of 10th to 18th place finishes across Oklahoma. Like you can make some championships on that thing, and you have a lot of first out of the money drive homes, if you know what I'm saying.
I got the feeling.
Yeah,
I got it.
But in your case, you could flip up 4 and then go catch your 5th one for the top 10 finish. In my case, I do it reverse.
Well, I think it's cool. Hey, you're working on it. You've identified what a weakness is, and obviously that's a part of your game that is a necessary part of the game. Some event, obviously, some place that you're going to go to where you're going to need to execute that. Anyway, all right. I would like to know, and I think a lot of the fans, let's talk a little bit about how you got into this game to begin with. Obviously, being from here in Oklahoma, Matt and I have talked numerous times on this show, the representation of really, really good local and regional anglers that come from the state of Oklahoma, and so much to fish in eastern Oklahoma, and that's where you're from. So how did you get into it, and when did you really think, all right, I got the game to be able to perform at this level?
My dad got me going. Back when I was 3 or 4 years old, he was fishing tournaments, and I got to look and I said, hey, that's something I want to do, because not only do I get to be fishing, I get to spend time with him. And I've rode that, still do it. I enjoy doing that as much as anything. Even in fishing on the tour, I drove all the way from South Carolina. We were looking at Santee Cooper before the Skeeter at Grand, and they said it was canceled. So me and Lauren loaded up, drove all the way home, drove all night, got home at 12, I think, that day. Dad got off work, unloaded a camper and everything, hooked on the boat, and we went straight to Grand and fished a Skeeter that Sunday.
Wow.
Because I knew we've been fishing 19, I guess this would be 20 years together, and that was going to be our only tournament that I could get to fish to it. Because last year we fished the Lauder. It's the only tournament we fished together. And that sucks, because me and him were fishing 20 to 30 tournaments a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Lauder doesn't even have a takeoff or anything like that. You just kind of go put in, so you get the whole experience when you fish the XFLs.
So, and I enjoy that about as good as anything, the takeoff. But, I started with Dad, got to go with him, and it kind of just kept progressing. And, I always, I've played played basketball and baseball my whole life. And I think fishing just another competitive edge that you can't get out of your system for me. It's you always want to compete, because if you're always, baseball, basketball, you want to win. But fishing, I never lost interest in it, because it changes every day. You can think you're on them and you go get your teeth kicked in, then it makes you madder and you want to go out and keep trying to figure them out every day.
Yeah.
But I don't know. 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 I don't I didn't know if I ever would make it to this level. I really didn't.
Really?
I mean, I'd kind of thought about it, when you're 5, 6, 7 years old, you watch Denny Breyer, or I did, all those guys and jigs, and back in the old beef sticks were out all the time. I mean, that's what, it was the big sticks then. I mean, we still had the big spinner baits. There wasn't no finesse stuff back then, or not as much. And I loved that. I mean, I loved watching it, and I wanted to. Don't get me wrong, I wanted to, but I didn't ever really think it would happen. I fished my first open. I think I was just barely out of high school. Yeah, it'd be the year after I graduated.
2010.
2010.
On Texoma.
Yeah, that one. And I said, if this is something I need to do, I need to do well. I want to get in the top 5 in this tournament. Well, I go in and just screw up. I should have had a top 5, and I didn't. And I ended up, 30-something, I think.
35th. What a horrible finish. You really screwed that one up there, Luke.
But, I mean, being at I consider Texoma somewhat of my home water. I'm an hour and 20 minutes from it, but that's the closest thing I got to a big water. And I didn't, and I was pretty frustrated after that. And I said, I'm going to go and try to get everything straight before I try to do this again. And I don't know, was it 15 or 16? I went back.
I feel like Ken Duke over here. It was 2016, Luke.
16, and I went and fished them. And was that when I fished when I didn't make it that year?
That was the one. That was the Atchafalaya Basin one.
Yeah,
that's where he was going with the whole story, and then the cable thing.
Yeah, I mean, I said I'm gonna try to make it then, and I didn't. Had some little bit of complications come up the next year, and I wasn't. Being in the family business stuff, I didn't want to leave that. I wanted to make sure things were set up first before I didn't want to just leave. Well, I tried getting in them, and I didn't get in the first one. So, and then I got into the next 2, but I said I'm not going to travel that much, and for not no reason, but I didn't want to just go to be going, because you do well, and then you're like, well, if I could have fished that first one, boy, I could have had a chance to make it. Well, the next year things got right. And, I went on and ended up making the leads that year. And it still doesn't seem real to me some days. I mean, I talked to Matt at the Classic at the media back there, and he's probably thinking, this kid still don't have a clue what he done. I mean, he don't understand. I mean, I really didn't. It's still kind of fresh to me that, I got to fish the Classic. And it still don't seem real, though. I mean, it just doesn't.
What do you attribute your success to being so consistent then on all these fisheries? Obviously, you fish a lot of stuff locally. We know kind of what your style is. But, I mean, you look at the year that you had last year on the Elite Series. I mean, you caught them up north on places where they typically use spinning rods. You caught them down south. You caught them on river systems. You caught them on tidal fisheries. Did you have any experience with that before? And then, I mean, you look at the guys who come out. It seems like Oklahoma guys either get absolutely drilled or just catch them. And there's not many guys that are in that middle. Mark and I have talked about that before. Yeah. What do you attribute your just incredible consistency to through the start of your career?
I think it's because I don't ever necessarily get too keyed in on a certain thing, because Texoma, for example, I've been to Texoma, and you go out one day and you smash them on a section of bank or whatever. I've done that at Texoma and ain't never caught a fish off of it in 15 years since then. It's like, I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, maybe I'm just not very good at figuring out the difference of where those fish go, but I keep a lot of stuff open-minded. I mean, I don't ever get just too keyed in on something, because it always blows up on me, and that aggravates me in my mind. So even if I'm really keyed in on 2 or 3 baits, I still got 6 or 7 other ones tied on, just to kind of keep your mind fresh about it. But I really think that it has helped me traveling all over. Is we have good fisheries in Oklahoma, but they're not as good as what you go out to Florida or even Guntersville. I mean, look how many thousands of fish are in there. And I think, because you'll see mine, if you watch Bass Track much on mine won't be like boom, 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 boy, he pulled up on that school and nailed them. Mine, it's just like I'll pick up one here, pick up one there. I guess I'm not a group fisherman. And that's probably, that'll hurt me as far as trying to win one, because, unless you just have a bunch of stuff to hit. those fish can run out real quick. And but that I think will be the hardest thing for me to do is to win one because I'm not a group fisherman. And I've got to learn that
A little
too.
more old school, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of Tommy Biffle in you.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Is that who you would compare yourself to in Oklahoma? Minus the shorts and all that stuff. But if you were to, if you were to say you fished like one of the established pros more so, who would you?
Probably him or Christy. I mean, I think me and Christy fish a lot alike. I mean, I think that's just somebody that I kind of resemble more or less.
You talk to him a lot, or?
No, I don't know if I really even talked to Christy.
Yeah, me too.
I'm curious, when you and your dad were fishing the team tournaments, was there anybody out there that you were, I don't know, I'm not saying looking up to, but like, damn, they can really catch him, and they continued to catch him, and they caught him and caught him and caught him in those team tournaments? When you were first starting out?
Yeah, there was Reynolds and Crete fished together when I first started.
Was there a guy named Orleans Smith?
Yeah. I actually bought a boat off him one year.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, he could catch him.
He can catch them. He can. I mean, and I was, I stay around the tournaments and talk because if we go home, we got to work. So me and Dad, we stay around. If we smash them or if we don't, we still stay around and BS with everybody because I enjoy that. That's one thing I really miss about team tournaments. Is the camaraderie. Sit around. You got guys. We don't see each other, but 4 times a year, or 5, and sit around and really just talked with guys. And I missed. They asked me to talk a little bit at the Skeeter tournament the other day, and that's the thing I miss the most. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love seeing the guys on tour and talking with them, but your guys that you've fished with for 10, 15 years, it's pretty cool to sit back and talk to them.
Would it be cool if the Elite Series had one special event where it was a team tournament?
That would be pretty cool.
I think the fans would thoroughly enjoy that too.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I mean, Mark's also
unless you put Christy and Edwin together, and then it's like, whoa, I don't know about these team guys.
But it sounds like you'd be totally in. I know Texas is doing a little bit kind of like that with some high-end team tournament stuff this year, and that idea has been thrown around. Mark's talked about it before, but like a high-end, $3,500 to $5,000 entry fee for like a professional 50-boat team tournament circuit.
That would be pretty. That would be cool. Have a couple of them. Kind of put it in between things or whatever.
Who runs the show? You said you fish with your dad in these things. Obviously he probably ran the show when you were super young, but who runs the show now? Like, how does your decision making go?
Whenever I was 13 at Sardis, Dad drove at takeoff. We shut down at the first spot, and he said, "Get up there." He said, "It's yours." He said, I've made my decisions up till now. He said, "It's your time now." He said, "Get after it."
Nice.
So we got our teeth kicked in quite a few times.
Oh, that man must have patience to do that with the 13-year-old.
He wanted me to try to succeed, and he wanted me to see it. And very appreciative of it. Because if I would have had him make decisions up till 18 years old, your thought process is not going to be as well, or you're not going to have as much confidence, and it did get in, you eat crow for a while. And you just keep thinking, when's it going to be my time? When's it going to be ours? And when I never forget, when I was right before I graduated high school, I bought my first boat, and I think it was the first tournament it was our second tournament. Hell, we won it. And and from then on, it was just like everything finally started clicking for us together. We fished so well together. Which all I got to do, when I throw it in neutral, hit the front deck, I don't have to worry about nothing. I don't have to worry about fish. Don't have to worry about net. My dad, he takes care. I don't have to worry about anything but catching fish, and he does too. But
right.
But there's no thing. So I had to learn how to run live wells and stuff whenever I got in the leads.
Real quick, I think we're gonna take a break.
Yeah.
But first, how old are you now?
29.
29. So you see these guys 29. How do you get so good? I've talked about this before. Polinick, Wheeler, these guys have been doing it forever. You talk about the time on the water that it takes to master it and be good. 13, 23. You've been making decisions in the front of the boat for 16 years, fishing all those weekends.
Yeah.
Talk about the number of hours where someone goes, well, how does Luke Palmer come on and do this? He's been so good. I mean, you take what you do every weekend doing that and then extrapolate it from the time you were 13 as opposed to a guy who starts fishing the opens, has only been, bass fishing for 10 or 15 years, but is in his 40s. You just have so much more time on the water and so many more decisions that you make. And you see a lot of these young guys, and when it comes down to it, very few of them are like, oh, I just started fishing and made it. It's like, dude, I was doing this since I was 10, 11, 12, 13 with a situation kind of like yours.
Exactly. I mean, it's big. I mean,
Yeah.
And you grow on yourself and you get confident in yourself. That's the key to it. I mean, you can be the best fisherman in the world, but if you don't have a confidence in what you're doing, you're going to have a hard time making it.
You're dead on. The guys say that every single show that we talk about it. Confidence. That's the big player. All right, going to take a break. Everybody stay tuned. We're back on a Monday.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, live sight transducer, or Structure Scan 3D, and get up to $500 cash back.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Luz doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
I want to share to you a new product we got coming out from Sunline. This is the FC leader size spools that we have now. We've gotten a lot of requests for this. A lot of you guys use fluorocarbon for leaders only, myself included. And one of the problems you have is when you have a 200-yard spool, that might last you 2, 3, 4 years. You might even lose it before you even get done with the spool. So we've gone to a little smaller spool. These are 50-yard spool sizes. That way you're not holding your line on forever. You can keep your line fresh, use it when you can, stores real easily in the boat. We got all of our popular line sizes that you're used to with our Sniper from 5 to 14 pound. If you guys are looking for a line that you're only tying for a leader, go check out Sunline FC Leader 100% fluorocarbon and give it a try.
All right, we are back with our in-studio guest, Mr. Luke Palmer. And Matthew, real quick, I'm going to ask you something.
Shoot.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Doug Kazarian? He's an ESPN guy.
I feel like I have.
He's an anchor on ESPN radio, and he also does a thing where his primary responsibility is to analyze sports betting.
Okay.
Now, I listened to a discussion that he had because obviously there's no sports betting going on right now, but there is. And he was talking about the obscure things that people are betting on now through the sports books online. crazy stuff like Russian ping pong.
That's pretty intense.
Let's see here. Taiwanese basketball.
They're still playing?
They're playing basketball in Taiwan. Competitive eating in Russia.
How do they get experts that set
I have no idea. So here's what I did. Now, the likelihood that this guy's actually going to get in touch with me is probably slim and none. But I did send him a Facebook message.
Yeah.
Because that's about the only thing I know how to do. I'm not this social.
He looks like a nice guy. I pulled him up. He looks like he might respond to a Facebook message, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he seems like a.
I want to get him on the show possibly and talk about whether or not that this would be a good time if fishing got back into the game. If people out there, hell, if they're betting on ping pong in Russia, they would probably bet on professional fishing.
I would say that a lot of the general public would probably put betting on professional fishing on the same level as betting on Russian ping pong.
You think?
I'm just saying it seems normalized to us because it's the profession which we chose to be in.
Yeah.
Just like the Russian ping pong people said, well, yeah, we're the Russian ping pongers. Of course they're going to. But I think that would be, I think, depending on how you worded the message, might have piqued his interest to where he went.
You got fantasy fishing. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
You got fantasy football, all that stuff. So why not?
Maybe he will respond. Maybe we will hear from him. And I would love to get his take because that's what he does. I mean, he's totally about analyzing the sports betting industry. I forget what sports book it was in Vegas that actually took a line on bowling during the U.S. Open one year. So we'll see, man. Lots to talk about on that. Hopefully,
the Daily Wager.
Yeah, maybe, just maybe, he will respond to my message, but I'm not expecting too much response from that.
He doesn't have like a website or something you could like do an official media
I didn't
request?
look. The only thing I looked at was his Facebook
You should dive
page.
deeper into that. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested.
I'll try. I'll see if there's any other way. The other thing is I have a connection locally with Dusty Dvorak, who works for ESPN.
I listen to him every morning on the way in. He's on the first team.
I was going to try and get a hold of Dusty to see if he might have cross paths with this Kazarian. Is that how you say it, you think?
Yes. Kazarian.
Yeah.
Are you a podcast guy? Do you listen to all this stuff? Or what, are you like just a red dirt country dude?
No, I listen to y'all show on Thursday, it was Thursdays, but now Tuesday I get my ace order in.
Yeah.
So I'm in the back marking freight, and I always set it up there and I listen to it and stuff. But other than that, I don't. I'm working at the store 8 to 5, so I don't really get to.
We need to let people know. I mean, you're a business owner. Your family own what brand is it?
Hardware store.
Hardware store.
Yeah.
So there is a balance there between the Elite Series and running a business. How is that working out?
It's going good. My dad and uncle, they're in it. You know, I mean, they were the ones before me. I'm just in line. You know, but we got a good crew there working, and when I'm gone, they take care of it. And I mean, I'm just very thankful for them. I mean, if it wasn't for them, there's no way I could do this. You know.
Yeah.
Now that's considered an essential business.
Yes, we're essential employees, so we're still fighting the fight, I guess you could say.
How has this been? I mean, you have everything that's going on in the world with the coronavirus, and then obviously the tournament. The next two have been postponed. Who knows how far this has been? But just from a I guess mental, financial, everything standpoint, I mean, is everything still kind of rolling good for you, or is this been difficult?
You know, it really, the only difficult part about it is it's like, what do I do? You just it's kind of a fog, and you don't understand what's going to happen, when we're going to fish. So I know I'm going to be working. So I mean, that's my thing. I mean, I'm lucky to have that because, if it wasn't for the store, I could be scrounging big time.
You talk with other, who do you run with on the Elite Series? And have you guys had those talks about fishing behind the scenes? What are the anglers talking about as far as nervous, anxiety, glad that Bass has made these steps, obviously, as has every other professional organization too. But what's the talk like just in the angling circles?
They're uncertain, just like I am. They don't. We've never had this. I mean, when was the last time you've heard the world be shut down because of something? I mean, this is the last thing I thought would have happened to put a big kink in everything. Everything. It's not just fishing, But they're ready to go. Just as I'm wanting to go as bad as 87 other guys. I mean, that's what we do. That's what you want to do. And when you're not getting to do. Heck, you can't go out on Friday night to do anything now. It's all shut down. And it's just people don't really know what to do. It sucks.
There's not that much stuff that spins you out, is there?
No, not really. I mean,
He's pretty low.
Have you ever been spun out on the water? Have you ever had a meltdown? I don't care. You could have been 13 years old. It could have been a decision on Sardis. Have you ever just had an Iconelli
snap a
moment,
rod,
just where it builds and builds, and then something happens, and you're just like, why didn't I see that coming?
The only time I did kind of lose my cool last year, I was at Winyah. We were making the 8 billion mile run, and I'm running across Charleston Harbor, and I have a little bit of electrical malfunction in my boat, and it goes bonk.
In Charleston Harbor.
That's not good.
And I have 2 fish over 6 on a bed 10 foot apart that I worked on an hour and a half the day before, couldn't get on the bite, so I know I'm pulling the next morning this week. And I have the opportunity to win this thing, and it does that, and I'm like, oh no. And I got to get fuel still, and it got back up on pad. I was running, hit 60, ball. I'm like, oh. And I had a camera guy with me. I'm like, gosh, I'm glad my mic's not working.
Wow.
I wasn't very happy. But I got on pad, I could run 50. But all it was a little wire. When you're making that hard to run on stuff, it's hard on things. But I was able, I just said the heck with it, and I passed the gas station, kept going. And I couldn't run but 45 mile an hour, so I'm not going to burn that much fuel. But it did cost me some time, but that was a sign for me to stop in a canal before those fish. When I got to those fish, ran all the way to them, both of them was gone, low tide. They'd backed out.
Oh, geez.
But if I'd have stopped in them canals, got the water coming out, I could have caught, things could have been different. But, my buddy Rivette, Tyler, he was still, because he's going to come back home with us and go turkey hunting, so he brought his boat down there and let me run it back. So, it worked out good. But, could have been better, could have been worse. But that was my one time of, I'm glad the mic wasn't working. I wasn't very happy.
Funny. All right, Matt. We have a viewer on the instant feedback, and he's got a good question, but then he followed up with, Mark, can you try and say my name for laughs and giggles if you read my question?
Make sure you read the name that you're not
There's
getting.
his name. How would you say it?
Oh, that's our boy from Canada.
Yeah.
Nanad. Nanad?
A?
Nanad?
Nanad?
Nanad.
Nanad.
I think it's Nanad. I met him at,
Yeah.
he came by the AFCO booth at the Bassmaster Classic. He does stuff with the Ontario Bass Nation.
Yeah, he's probably chuckling right now.
Yeah.
Nanad?
Nanad.
Or Nanad?
Gotta be Nanad.
Nenad. Not Nenad. Nanad?
And
Anyway.
Well, there is a vowel. It is a vowel, consonant vowel, which would make the first vowel hard.
Is there any French in there, though?
I think so. Nanad?
Nanois?
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 You
There's
just
no X
like
on
that.
it.
You say Carl Jacobson instead
yeah.
of Jacobson.
Yeah.
We'll go with Ninois.
Nanois. French Canadian. I don't know. He's probably chuckling big time now.
Yeah,
anyway,
he's a good dude. I did a video with him at the Classic.
His question is, what is one lure that's made a tremendous difference for you and how you fish it in your career?
Jeez.
He also said technology, but we've been down that path. I'd rather go the lure route.
Man, that's probably a crankbait. I know that sounds different and stuff, but I haven't really been a big cranker in Oklahoma. I've been a jig guy and a spinnerbait guy. That was it. And really trying to figure out how those crankbaits work out to the 15 to 25, and getting them down to that depth and line size and stuff like that. Because, I've thrown 20, and 50, and 65. That's my 4 things is, throwing. And but figuring out that lighter line and figuring out how them crankbaits work has been a evolving thing for me, because I'm still not a good cranker by no means.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to learn more and more with it, with the finesse fairy wand stuff. But I'm starting to get that somewhat figured out.
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Ed Barton. A lot. He's got a lot of Ed in him.
Really?
Yeah. Jig, spinnerbait,
Square bill.
swim jig.
More jig.
Yeah, more jig.
You're not a big square bill guy? As
Not
much
a real
you fish
big.
out?
I mean, I do, but not as much as I should be. Probably. I'm a jig guy.
How
What
much,
about a swim jig?
I mean, I do. I mean, jig, swim jig, and jig.
Yeah.
That's my two.
Let me ask this. There is if you look at the Oklahoma team trails, which I'd put Oklahoma up against Alabama, up against Texas, as a number of weekends that you can fish for $10,000 more, a lot of times $20,000 in a boat. Outside of the championship, you had the Charger, you've got the Nichols, you've got the Skeeter, you've had some other Lauder and Pitts, you've got all these big team tournaments. What are they? They're one day. So when they're one day, they're 5 fish. So as many team tournaments have you fished, do you think your style has kind of been predicated around the fact that you're looking for 5 fish one day during these team tournaments, and not opposed to fishing for points, fishing to make a championship, fishing to cash a check? Because, I mean, let's be honest, you finish, 10th out of 300 at a Nichols, and after the time you split it and with gas, you're making like $300. I mean, it doesn't.
It
you
is.
like win
That's true.
or nothing.
Yeah.
That's about how it is in anything anymore, though. I mean, if you don't win it,
Yeah.
you're still not making anything. I mean, it's hard to make it. You know what's weird is I've done better in championships in 2-day deals than I probably have in single days. I'm not a guy who goes out and smashes 20 to 5 pounds. I've caught some sacks over 20 and won some tournaments, but I'm not just a major hammer guy, I guess you'd say. I try to be consistent but also in that being consistent, there was one year after I graduated high school from 2009 till, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, there was one year in there that I didn't make money. I made just a little bit. I'm not talking massive amount. Fishing team terms, if you make $5,000 or $10,000 a year, that's doing well, because not fishing grand much, we don't fish for a lot of money down this way anymore. The Skeeters used to come down more to Eufaula and Texoma, but for a weekend guy, and we work 5.5 days a week at the store, it's hard for me to drive 4 hours to Grand. I mean, it just feasible side. But that year I fished to catch a limit. Every time I said I want to catch a limit, and then we'll go try to. I got my teeth kicked in. I mean, we cashed a check maybe half the time, and that was just getting a check. It wasn't about trying to get first, second, or third. I said next year, I said heck with that. I said I went to swinging. If I'm going to pull up on an area, I'm going for 5 donkeys, and that's it. I mean, I don't care, and because if you don't win or come to the top 3 or 4. You're not getting any money, and I got back to that mentality, and that's what they say on the elites. Do you just try to catch a limit? I'm like, nope. You go. I mean, you got to go catch them. You can't lay off against those guys, because guess what? 87 of those guys are going to catch them. And you can't back off at all. Just like I backed off at Cayuga, I pulled up there and I caught. I don't know if it was 15 to 16 pounds, whatever it was. Pulled up there and caught those in like 15 minutes. And I just backed off. I went and said, I'm going to go try to catch a good fish here and there. I should have sat there and caught them until they quit and then left. Because those grass fish, they replenish a lot more than what. That's what, if you catch 2 fish off a point in Oklahoma, you're like, ooh, that's a good one. Better back off. Easy there. Don't be starting to stick all of them. But you learn that, and you can't pull off. I mean, these guys are so good. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was interesting. I went back and I listened to some of the David Fritz interview. And one of the comments that I pulled away from that interview was, look, I haven't performed that well, but I'm trying to win every single tournament. Checks don't matter to me. It's all about the W. It's all about victory. And I think that's one of the reasons why, especially with what he's renowned in doing, that crankbait. I mean, he's feast or famine. He's either going to catch him or he ain't.
And he is a crankbaiting fool, too.
Yeah.
Gosh dang it.
You talk to any of those guys, like the Fritz, Rick Cluns, Jay Yellis? I mean, you had a heck of a year last year.
I've talked to Clun a little bit. I mean, since we all camp. I mean, there's me, Clint Davis, Patrick Walters. We got Paulinick. He's camping too. I mean, and Clun. We all kind of camp, which we all get somewhat in the same area. I mean, so I talked to Matt Herron quite a bit and Bill Owen. I really like those are some good guys. I mean, they point you in the right direction. There's no BS. It's straightforward, and and there's some good guys. It's been really. They've been some pretty good mentors for me.
Cool.
I mean, it's been really nice to meet people like that. I mean.
All right. Since you're here in studio, I want your take on this. I know you haven't fished the Elite Series that long, but I think it's still important to get your opinion on what is developing with the Elite Series this year. There is a very good possibility that you guys may be limited to maybe 4 events, 5 events. You might be fishing all the way into October, November. What are your thoughts about an idea that I came up with where they add in, let's just call it a major? In other words, they have an event where, say, first place is $150,000. Everybody carries over to 2021. In other words, there's nobody gets lost. You add in, if they're able to have the opens, you add in the guys that qualified through the opens for 2021, and then the Classic actually takes place at the end of the season rather than the beginning of the season. What would you think about that?
You know, that'd be something to look at. Really, what I would just as soon as we can get out of this virus stuff, let's go ahead and fish it. If we got to fish in December, I mean, go ahead and throw your northern stuff, because of course you can't go down there then. But get your northern stuff taken care of as early as you can, and then run your Santee Cooper in November, December. It's not going to be that cold there. I mean, and run them late. That way, when we get the things, when say the Classic rolls around or we get started again, get back to normal routine. And because as far as me, like, a routine's important, and I think fishermen like a routine somewhat. I mean, you watch Clun, he's up at 3 o'clock in the morning and he's at the ramp at 4 o'clock and he has 3 cups of coffee and his deal, and he's off at 5. And I think the people in general want to get the routine back. I mean, because this has put haywire and everything. Yeah. And people just want to get back to normal, want to go see their buddies, want to go hang out. That's the people are thriving. They want that. We all look at our phones like this all the time. Yeah. But I think they're starting to realize that, hey, I want to go see Matt, my buddy, in person and talk to him. Maybe that might bring us back to getting more social, without being texting everybody.
The realization is, though, we're going to have, Wednesday is April 1st, and there's guys that have fished 5 days. There's some guys that have only fished 2 days all year long.
Most of the guys on
2
tour
days.
fished 2 days.
That's it. Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is, logistically, it becomes very, very, very difficult based upon the scenario that Bass and really everybody's dealing with. So why not? It sets up well to where, okay, what we're going to do, we're still going to compensate you guys, give you a big event to fish this year. Then you know what? We're going to hit reset and we're going to start all over, and we're going to move the Classic to the fall next year and have a fall Classic.
But the only thing would be, what about the next year's Classic?
Well, that's what happened when they moved it to the spring. Yeah. Okay? They had that double situation. But once again, you set up to where now you could rotate it and maybe make it a summer Classic. Yeah. See? So there's options out there. I get what you're saying, and you're right. People are used to routines. And when that routine is disrupted, then it becomes very, very challenging. Well, I think we're dealing in the entire tournament industry. The industry itself is dealing with so many unknowns and so many logistical nightmares that you may see some things, and things might be done that we never would have thought of because of the scenarios.
Yeah, they're going to think about it, and they're going to do the best for us all. I mean, that's all we can ask for. Yeah. Bass, whoever else, they're going to be, because they want us to be fishing, because they're not making money when we're not fishing.
Exactly.
I mean, it's no different than being at the hardware store. If we don't have the hardware store, guess who's not making any money?
How's the communication been with Bass and the anglers? Obviously, I'm sure they send some stuff that's for anglers' eyes only, but has it been pretty steady, or has it left some?
No, it's been good. I mean, they. Like Bowman, he calls me a couple of times a month, and if he said anything you need, holler at me. He calls me just random, hey, just checking on you, need anything. I mean, it's been good. Like, guys, I don't know, it was more of a family deal last year, and it still is this year too. I mean, you're getting some new faces, and guys are starting to get their sense and direction, I guess you'd say, because all of us was like, who in the heck are you? I mean, we didn't know each other last year, and I remember at the first of the year meeting, or in December when we had that one, God, I mean, it was kind of like everybody's sitting about like we are now, because we didn't really know each other. And then this year it was like, hey, how's it going? I mean, we had a good time, and it's still rolling like that, and it's But heck, Bass kind of hooked us up. I mean, they sent out some stuff to us and kind of helped us get through this time. I mean,
what's something that you could tell Matt and I and tell the fans that took place at the Classic this year that you just kind of shook your head and went, wow, I can't believe that just happened?
It's you can't describe it. I mean, you know, it's a marathon for the guys fishing.
It is.
I mean, you know, me and her got there on Thursday. You know, you're preparing tackle, you're doing all that stuff, and then you got 3 days of practice. Okay, well, you're daylight to dark every day. And then Monday's your off day, you know, so to speak. But we stayed in the camper, so we drove and got the motel. And then Tuesday we had meetings and stuff, so you're not off that day. And then Wednesday we drive back and have the official practice, you know, day. Well, then we got to drive 75 miles back to the motel, put our boats up, and then we have Night of Champions. And then the next day it's all day meeting stuff, and then we start tournament on Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, it was when it was over, it was the exhaustion. I mean, it was starting to get there. I mean, you give out from fishing that much, and then, you know, we just want to go fishing. We don't want to do as much as the meetings and stuff like that. We just want to fish.
Yeah.
And it's a hectic time, but when you're sitting there behind that, you know, it's the 50th this year, when you're sitting behind that curtain and they're about to call your name out, it's the real deal.
Were you able to focus on the fishing, or you hear so many guys talk about their first Classic and the distractions?
You know, I really didn't. It wasn't. I never got big time. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're pumped up. It's Classic. But I wasn't on just a super good bite. I was more frustrated, you know, because you want to perform at the Classic. I mean, you got a chance to win $300,000. You'd kind of like to win that, and that trophy is kind of a big deal. And it was, but I just never did get. You watch my bass track. It was very, very slow. It wasn't like doop, 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 like it needed to be. And I just kept plugging away. I never got excited, and just, I mean, it was just.
Were you surprised how Hank won?
Not really.
Really?
I mean, which did he caught some on the grass the first day, I think.
Yeah, a couple
where he caught some good ones.
Yeah.
But you know, I never really even looked at the bridges much. I stayed. I'm gonna be a grass guy, and I'm not a grass guy. But I better try to learn it here. Here I am for the first time. You might want to learn something, and you know, I mean, if you know, I mean, Hank had a great day. I mean, he won it. I mean, kudos, no doubt. But you know, look at Todd Otten. He sat there and he just kept plugging away, and he almost had 20 a day, and he caught him off of just a few grass patches. You know,
did it kind of take the air out of the guy's sails when Hank comes in with 29 something on the first day, or did it give you guys something to shoot at? I mean,
well, that, you know, in that tournament, that's a lake that you can bust 29, or you can bust 35, or you can bust 5 real quick. I mean, it's such a, but you know, they're great fisheries down there. I mean, and the way the weather was setting up, it was warming, and you're just like, okay, it's going to happen. I mean, you catch a 7, then you go to the next spot, catch a 5. I mean, you start rolling, and it can happen real quick. Just like I told you up there where I was at, there were some gorillas there, and I'd seen them. And I mean, they was big.
Did you hear how he caught him, Mark? You got to tell that story. Throw the fans in there too. It's pretty cool.
I just pulled into a deal late on Sunday, I think, Saturday or Sunday, and the water was coming up. I was up the river, and I pitched up a big weight, and it fell through there, and it thump, 4.5, 5 pounder. And I went up a little further, and I looked under this dock, and there was one in between 8 and 10. I was like, uh-oh, somebody's getting close here. And I pulled in another little low stretch, punched in there, I caught a 5.5 and a 3.5 pretty much back to back, and I shook off 3 more, and I was like, boy, it's
punching.
Yeah.
It was the first time you'd ever like really punched in a tournament. You said you'd done a little bit in Florida, but you're planning on fishing the Bassmaster Classic on a technique that you'd done once before in your life.
Wow.
And I mean, other than that, through that Booyah Hard Knocker, and I'd fish till 10 o'clock, and I'd run up there, and when the water, you know, I'd want them to get under that stuff, and I'd go in there, and I'd just go to punching and just keep plugging away, and you eventually get a bite. I'd only get 3 or 4 bites up there, but they was normally quality fish, and the water fell out, and that's what really hurt my bite, I think, because they were coming, and I think when that water started dropping, I think they just stayed in the channel more, and they didn't come to me, and I'm not a guy to get out there away from what I'm doing.
First time you've done that, though.
Pretty much. I mean, I've done it. When we were in Florida, we went to Rodman because we got canceled.
Yeah.
That was a jack fest. I mean, it was like you close your eyes and just start pitching up in there and letting it fall to that mat. And it was
never at Rayburn?
I've never been to Rayburn.
Really?
Dude, I ain't been out. I'm telling you, I haven't been out of Oklahoma very many times in my life. When I went to Louisiana and fished a few times, the only time I'd ever been down there is fish tournaments. And Ross Barnett's first time I ever seen eelgrass was at Ross Barnett.
Yeah.
And hydrilla. First time I'd ever seen that. And then made the leech and was like, well, you better learn quick, boy.
I remember the first time I went to Ross Barnett. It was my first open in 15. That place spun me out. There's like places on that lake that don't even show up on the chip. Like I drew a co-angler that's like, oh, did you go check? I think it's like 14 Mile or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I've heard about this place. I've like been looking at my maps and stuff. Like, where is it? And he's like, when you go past this, there's a piece of rebar sticking out of a stump. He's like, go right towards that piece of rebar and then hook it to the left and then run 50 yards and then shut down and idle. And I'm like, I don't know how bad I want to get back in. And then you get back in there, it's like a mile off the map on my boat. And then you're running up lake on that thing. And if you're not used to running that stuff, you're like channel, stumps. And there's no way to get back in it and you can't set down.
When we were there in 16, it was up 1.5 feet.
It's even worse.
So you can't see nothing.
They love rebar on that lake.
Oh, I know. It looks like pad stems. It looks just like pad stems. You're like, oh, that's a pad stem. You're like, oh. But yeah, well, you say that's funny. there was like, I made the top 10 of Ross Barnett, and I pulled in this starting spot, and there was like 7 of us all fishing within casting distance. Well, and gosh dang, I can't think of who won it.
Was it that local? No.
No. It was he fished on the Elites at the time.
Not Browning.
Yes, Stephen Browning. Well, he was fishing the outside eelgrass, and I was fishing the inside clumps of grass and stuff because that's the only thing I know how to do is fish shallow anyway. And he's out there, and there's no. You're like 300 yards from 3 foot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nearest contour
weird.
line. There is no contour line. There's a slight depression here, and once you notice that slight depression, that's what you really want to key on. And I'm like, what slight? It just went to 3.2.
That's it. From 2.9.
You're like, really?
Yeah.
But I took off. I mean, I fished till the last second, and I took off, and Stephen Browning took in behind me, and we got to the weigh-in, and he was like, he said, heck, I didn't know if we could take off, but he said, hell, Luke, he took off, so he knew, act like he knew what he was doing. I said, Stephen, did you see my rooster tail that was jacked all the way up? And I said, I just had her cobbed on. I said, I was praying for the best I didn't hit anything. Because, I mean, it was just solid stunt. I was like, I ain't got time. Close your eyes and just mash on it. And
that's like Bobby Lane.
Yeah.
Same way.
Yeah.
Same way.
Well, they said Biffle said if you can't see it, it's not there.
Yeah. Ross Barnett, he went across. I'm in one of those flats and stuff, and here comes a boat, and my co-angler was a local that day, the first day ever, and he turns to me and he goes,
get ready.
He goes, that SOB must have a death wish, and he didn't know who it was. And here it comes, come around the corner, blue LaRue boat just shooting down there. He goes, well, that explains a lot, but that's still stupid.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break and come back, wrap things up with Luke Palmer. Everybody stay tuned.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Blue Water by TH Marine. Offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that Spro has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a Spro bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done. While I travel the country on the Bassmaster Elite Series, I simply can't let the weather be the reason I don't win $100,000. That's why I use AFCO clothing to keep me warm, dry, and protected from whatever Mother Nature wants to throw at me. My season depends on it. My career depends on it. AFCO, any fish, any water.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body but with ribs to give it a bigger profile but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a great for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, you know, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back. Gonna wrap up Monday's show in studio with Luke Palmer. And Luke, do you like sight fishing?
Yes, I do.
All right, now where in southeast Oklahoma do you sight fish this time of the year?
He doesn't
Broken Bow?
Nah, you can probably go to Texas and catch a few arbuckle. I mean, I'm there. It seems like every time I want to go do it, it rains.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I got a day and a half, and you know, ponds are pretty fun to sight fish because they're dumb, and you know, those are the best ones. But now those are pretty good ones.
Okay.
Lake Hartwell is probably the best though.
You guys hit that thing on the screws, didn't you?
You know, we had a little bit of a cold front come through and it dropped down to 40s. If it would have stayed like it was going to be stupid.
How do you set up for bed fishing tournament? Do you number your fish? Do you have them where you're going to them? What's your setup when you're playing on bed fishing for a whole day?
You know, you go and you mark all your fish on waypoints, and I like to go back at night and delete every one of those, because when I go to them the next morning, none of them are there. I mean, none of them. I mean, Hartwell, I probably had 50 on beds there. I went back, pulled down. I was like, "Oh man, I was pumped." I said, "I'm gonna pull in. I got a good boat number. Boy, I'm gonna pop in here and catch them."
Yeah.
I don't know if I caught a fish off a bed hardly.
Wow.
I mean, it was like they all left. I mean, that's what happens to me normally. So it's like just kind of hope for the best. The only one I ever did that worked out for me was at Lake Fork. I caught a big one last year. The first day, I found her, looked at her for 3 days, and she never would lock on. Finally, the third day in practice, I seen where she was going, and went and caught, told my marshal I'm going to go catch 22 or 23 pounds on these other fish, because I know if I go to her, she'll be gone or something. I pulled in there and threw a popping pad crasher over. I didn't even get to like really work on her. Threw it over one time, twitched it over, and went across her bed. She went like it was meant to happen, you know. But no, it's like you say, you know, I always, if I do get set up on a bed, you're going to number them kind of like, okay, well, I normally try to get, if I get a few fish in the area, not just one single fish, because 9 times out of 10, like in Florida, those fish will spawn out so fast. I mean, you know, they're liable to pull in there and spawn and be gone in a day.
Yeah.
You know, Oklahoma, we got a little more time.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to just get try to get multiples in the area before I'm even going to go to them, because you know you want to catch one for sure, but if you at least got a couple, you got a lot better shot at pulling off more than one in the area.
All right. Hey, we did a little sight fishing yesterday at a pond. It's not a giant lake. It's more like a giant pond. Elmer Thomas. You've been there, haven't you, Matt?
Yeah.
Super clear. One of the clearest bodies of water. In fact, if you were to jump out of an airplane with a parachute and land there, you wouldn't think you were in Oklahoma. It really
It's got hydrilla in 20 foot of water.
It does not look like.
I didn't think we had grass. No.
Yeah.
It might be
crazy.
milfoil.
It
It's
don't
got
matter.
some milfoil and some hydrilla.
Yeah.
Did
It's
Brad show you how to tell the
crazy.
difference, Mark?
No. Because we
You
were
know how
all
to tell the
into
difference?
No.
This is a Brad Hallman trick. Pick the stalk of grass, and if the leaves lay down against the stalk when it's out of the water, milfoil. If they stay out kind of like a leaf, if they're a little...
They don't collapse.
Hydrilla. If it collapses out of the water, it's milfoil. If it doesn't, it's hydrilla.
That makes sense.
I still couldn't tell you the difference, probably. I know if there's grass, I'm going to try to fish it wherever I'm at.
We
If
walked down
coontail,
there,
whatever.
Brad picked it up, and he's like, I'm going to teach everyone something here. That was his hot tip of the day. I thought it was a pretty good tip.
That
is a good tip. Yeah.
That's a good way of looking at it. But no, it is not your typical Oklahoma lake. And with all the rain that we've had around here, I was shocked how clear this is. But obviously because of the grass and the rock, and nobody was sight fishing. There was a ton of people there. Nobody was looking at it.
No mapping either.
Yeah. I mean, it's that small, but a very, very cool place that if you get it in here in Oklahoma, it's rare that the wind doesn't blow to where you can see them really good. And it was funny, man. There was one fish that was bedding a little deeper, Matt. We hooked it probably 8 times.
Caught it?
Had it hooked, and it came off. And then we finally caught it. Brad finally caught it, and he had it foul hooked. It was the weirdest thing.
How big was it?
It was like 3 pounds. 3.5.
Did Brad break out any tricks?
No.
Just pretty standard.
It was fun time, man.
What did you break out?
My standard.
That white
doesn't
thing.
make it anymore. V&M. Who was the guy that was on the Elite Series that I got those from?
I can't.
He was from Louisiana. Cannot remember the guy's name.
You don't know the maddest I've ever seen Mark. Well, I've seen Mark pretty mad. Over the 12 years that we've done it, we got a second, don't we?
Yeah.
So I think I've been working for him for probably 3 years, 2 or 3 years. So we go down to Texoma, and we take separate boats. Remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he's during his sight fishing stuff, and
I'm obsessed with sight fishing. I love it.
So it was kind of tough. We each caught some fish and everything, and it's good. So I find these fish. It's like probably a couple 4s.
Yeah.
That are like kind of on the same bed.
In little
bit
glasses.
Deeper. And so we get back to the ramp and stuff, and I said, yeah, I got these 2 that I didn't catch. We had to come in. And Mark's like, really? I didn't catch any big ones. He's like, do you know where they are? And I said, yeah. So I put my boat on the trailer, and he said, oh, let's go catch them. So I hop in the boat with him. This is true. I'm going to tell him.
Yeah.
So I hop in the boat with him. No big deal. We get down there. I said, there they are. He's like, oh, yeah. He gets set up on him. He starts fishing for him. And I'm standing there, and I'm kind of fishing for him. Not really. I mean, kind of letting Mark do it. And Mark flips in there on one, and it like kind of turns around and eats it, and he misses it. While he's re-rigging, I just pitch in there, and it swims over and sets it, and I jack it. He was so legitimately pissed. He goes, that was my fish! And he starts slamming his foot on the floor, and I'm like, well, I found the thing. I brought you here. He's like, you brought me here so I could catch that fish. I got
Because all I could catch all day long was 2-pound bucks. That was it.
He was... I was almost in tears because I had known him long enough to be like, you need to chill the hell out and take me back. I ain't never showing you a fish again in my life. He said, that's my fish. He's stomping on the deck. I felt so bad for catching that bedfish that I found, took him to, and let him get the first shot at.
And he fired it up for you, though.
I know.
It just
apparently it was my fault.
In there, dink. But, to turn it around, too, there were times where, I haven't won a single event where we battled for the sight fishing tournament.
I've gotten lucky as hell.
I'm like 0 for 10. All right.
One of them, the first fish I found was an 11-4.
Yeah. Anyway, there were a couple of times during that event where we'd see each other like at Arbuckle, and he goes, how you doing? I'm like, dude, I can't catch anything but 2-pound bucks. That's all. I haven't seen any. He was like, well, here, go over there by where the rock piles are around the corner there in there.
Oh, yeah, those were big ones, weren't they? You caught those.
Yeah. He goes, just go in there and look. He goes, and you can catch those.
But he's got an advantage. He's like 6'9".
I know.
He ought to be able to see down and really
Well, it
pick
was
them
funny
up.
yesterday. I mean, Brad's 6'4", I'm 6'4". We could see a lot, but my eyesight just is not as good, obviously, as it used to be.
It's hilarious, though, that no finesse with Mark. He starts by antagonizing it, and he ends by antagonizing it. Like, there's no, I'm gonna pitch the weightless bait in there. It's like 3/4 ounce weight, tiny white bait. Try to knock the sucker out. That's from the start. There's one tactic. It's straight power.
It's called violent aggression, is what it is.
Been there, done it.
So, anyway, I'm glad you like to sight fish because it's unfortunate that we only have that short window here in Oklahoma, but we can always head up to Table Rock and do it up there and find some stuff.
Even when it does get good, like it's about to start getting good. Well, it's supposed to rain 45 inches this week, and everything's going to be chocolate milk and screw it up. I know. But that's the world we live in.
It is what it is. All right, man. Kind of what's your plan for the remainder? Just sit tight, keep working, obviously, on your game and improve the areas that you need to improve on. But it sounds like you got stuff dialed in and you're going in the right direction, man.
It's always a work in progress, Like I said, fishing's different every day. No matter where you're at in the country, it's still going to change, and you got to be adapting, and you got to be more versatile, I guess, in everything. No matter, because you can be really good at one thing, but that one thing doesn't do good at every single lake we go to. Like up north, you can't just have a 3/4 ounce weight. You got to have the 8-pound test line. You got to do it.
Yeah, great point.
Sucks.
Well, we thank you so much for coming into the studio, making the trip. I know the fans enjoyed your insight and greatly appreciate you spending time. All right, Matthew, tomorrow, Carl Jakobsen.
Looking forward to it.
Hopefully via Skype. Not sure on that yet, though.
Remember last time he gave like some really inspirational stuff from his truck.
Yeah.
Got everybody who was like wanting to quit their jobs and start fishing and go for it.
Yeah.
So he's got some more stuff going on. I think he's got a house now.
You're going to have the glider out, too.
Say it again?
The glider. It's coming out.
You throw a glider?
No, I don't even know what it is.
I'd like him even more, man. Don't even know what it is. Good stuff. All right, everybody. Tomorrow, Carl, and then Wednesdays, Haldane, KVD, and Swindle to wrap up the week. So we are off to a good start. Everybody out there, please be safe. We will see you tomorrow. That's it. We're out of here.